Here's a continuation of the story I told yesterday. And this is a story which seemingly contradicts the story I told you yesterday. If you don't know what the story is, you can look at the archives, but the essence of the story I told you yesterday was that the Alter Rebbe, the first Rebbe, when he was just a young man, he was the youngest of the pupils of the Maggid of Mezrich. He was walking in the streets with his teacher, the Maggid of Mezrich, and an older pupil called Rabbi, was it Pinchas Rezes? No, yes, no. What can I do? Anyway, another pupil, sometimes things slip my mind. And they saw a page of Chassidut laying in the street in the gutter. And this other Rev Pinchas, he saw this and he said that this is what I've been telling you about. You're writing down the ideas of Chassidut and disseminating them to the simple people, and they don't treat it properly, and you're cheapening the Torah. And look what the results is laying in the gutter. And the first Rebbe of Chabad said, I want to give you an example why this is a good thing. And he gave them the example, the parable, that once there was a king that had a son, and the son was dying, and someone came and said, the only way you can cure your son is by taking the crown diamond in your crown and crush it up and put it into water and mix it and try to pour it into your son's mouth. And it's a doubt if anything's going to go in, but if anything goes in to his mouth, and if he succeeds in swallowing it, he'll live. So the king said, okay, and he had his diamond crushed up, and sure enough, a little bit went into his son's mouth, and the boy was saved. Same thing with the Jewish people. The Jewish people, they're unconscious. They're in a critical state. And the only thing that'll wake them up is the Torah, the secrets of the Torah, the diamond of the Torah. But it has to be crushed up in a proper way, and it has to be distributed. He says, that's what you see here. Chassidut is the diamond of the king's crown. And it's been diluted in a proper way that it can save the Jewish people. The problem is to get it into their mouth. The people should read it, and even if they do, to understand it. But if they do understand a little bit, it'll save the Jewish people. He says, what you see in the gutter here, that's some of it spilled out. But it's spilled out in an attempt to save the Jewish people. And that's why we must never stop learning Chassidut. That's the idea, okay. Now there's a second story, which is the opposite. And that's the story I want to tell you now. When the first Rebbe of Chabad was put into prison, so he sat there for 53 days. It was very cold. He didn't have what to eat. Terrible suffering. Russia, it's cold now. They're going into the wintertime. It was terrible suffering. I mean, he wasn't with his Chassidim. It was difficult. He couldn't pray with the congregation. He was separate. He didn't know if they were going to kill him. They could have killed him any moment. It says when he was there, so there came to visit him visitors. Who were the visitors? The Baal Shem Tov and the Maggid of Mezrich, who had already passed away years earlier. They had passed away, and they came physically, and they visited him in his room. They say that later on, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, he was told, he was taken to the prison, or he made a tour or whatever it is, of that prison, and he saw the room. They said, "This is the room where the first Rebbe of Chabad was." And he said, "It could be because it's big enough for 3 people." And it was must have been a small room. This is big enough for 3 people. In any case, they came physically, and he said to them, "Can you tell me why am I here?" And they said, "You're here because you taught the ideas of Chassidut. You spread out the ideas of Chassidut." So he said, well, maybe I should stop. Maybe this is a sign from God that I should stop teaching. And they said, no, that the teachings of Chassidut, of your teachings, will bring the Mashiach. And whether the world is ready for Mashiach or not is a question. But now that you've started, you shouldn't stop. In fact, you should do it more. And that's what's going to bring Mashiach. Don't stop. End of story. So the Lubavitcher Rebbe, he points out that seemingly there's a big contradiction between, there's just Lubavitcher Rebbe, big contradiction between the stories. And the first story about the diamond of the king, the point of it is we can never stop teaching Chassidut. We must spread out the teachings of Chassidut. In the second story, the Rebbe said, well, maybe I should stop. Maybe I should stop if I'm being punished. Maybe it's a sign from God that I should stop. So, the first one wasn't a sign from God that the page was laying on the ground. Is Chassidut a good thing, or that it's indispensable? Or is it a thing that's nice, but it's not necessary? That's why the Rebbe said, maybe I should stop. So the Rebbe said there's no contradiction. The first one was talking about Chassidut comes to save the Jewish people, to give the Jewish people inspiration, to realize the Jewish people that they're God's people, and that the commandments are God's commandments, to give them enthusiasm, and to save the soul of the Jewish people. The soul of the Jewish people. That Judaism should remain. The second story about the Rebbe being in prison is not talking about saving the Jewish people. The Jewish people are already saved. Nothing's going to happen to them. The question is, what about bringing Mashiach? To change the whole entire world. And on that, the Rebbe said, listen, maybe the world is not ready. Maybe I should just continue teaching the ideas of Chassidut in a small way like it was before. And that's what they said, no. Whether the world is ready for Mashiach or not, but your teachings will make it ready. Therefore, you have to increase. And that's when the Rebbe got out, as he taught volumes and volumes and volumes. And so the Rebbe's after him with rivers and rivers of Chassidic ideas that came out. Each Rebbe has books and books of Chassidic teachings that are written. So the point of this, you should go to your local Chabad house and say, I'd like to learn a little bit of it. Or you can even look online and you can read the Tanya. There's Tanya classes in Tanya every day. Excellent teachers in English, in any language you want. Have a good day with Mashiach. Now, God bless you all. See you tomorrow at 8:15.